Now, let's talk about bikes. This is my 2014 DR650. When I left Australia, it had around about 10,000 kilometers on it.
So this is my bike. It's same thing, Suzuki DR650, 1 year older, so 2013, and it done 18,000 kilometers when we started the trip. So pretty similar to James's. So for the purpose of this video, we'll just focus on his bike.
I'm sure by now some of you more observant viewers have noticed that my bike isn't quite stock. But this is a picture of my bike and this is what it comes like straight from the manufacturer. To be honest, the stock bike's actually pretty good for most normal circumstances, but what we're doing isn't quite normal, so we know we need to make a few improvements. Given Jay and I are both over 6 foot, the first thing that had to change was the stock foot pegs. They just sit far too high, so we had to get lower aftermarket ones. We both fitted metal bash plates to protect the engine. The reality is we knew we'd be hitting rocks, logs, animals, anything the road might throw at us. One of the more expensive upgrades was the front suspension. We knew with the long distance we'd be doing, off-road, and with carrying extra weight, this had to be done. We also chucked on a fork brace, which should help with on and off-road handling. Given the distances we'd need to travel in some very remote areas, we knew the stock tank wouldn't be sufficient. We opted for a 25 litre tank, which enabled us to do around 500 kilometres even fully loaded. We both decided to install a windscreen for the tedious highway stretches. For the same reason as the lowered foot pegs, we decided to get bar risers on the handlebars. Just for long days of riding, especially when stood up on the pegs, it just makes it a lot easier. I'd love to say we needed stronger bars and bark busters because of our extreme riding through single tracks in the jungle in Borneo. But you know what the reality is, we drop our bikes quite a lot and we want to protect the levers, so yeah, we installed both of those. For anyone that's ever sat on a stock DR650, you'll probably find that the seat is somewhat reminiscent of a Catholic church pew. Although it might be okay to sit down for an hour or so, any more than that you'll probably struggle walking for the rest of the day. For that very reason, we decided to upgrade our seat to aftermarket ones. We even got a little bit carried away and got a sheepskin cover as well. We installed a rear rack on the back and pannier racks on the side to carry all of our luggage. The stock tool tube on a DR650 is essentially useless. That is unless you classify tools as a basic small screwdriver. Both Jay and I are tight asses. We actually went down to a DIY store and just made our own one out of PVC pipe. If you're on any of the DR650 forums, you'll often notice that people refer to the exhaust as an anchor. Long story short, it weighs 7 kilos and is very restrictive. We both opted for aftermarket ones, which are not only lighter but help the engine breathe better and sound a crap load better too. With tyres, everyone seems to have a different opinion, but the one thing everyone does agree on is that the standard trail wings are pretty pathetic. For this trip, we decided to go for a 50/50 tyre, and we actually opted for the Motorbike Tractionator GPSs. For the same reason as the front suspension, we needed to upgrade the back suspension to carry our fat asses and all of our luggage. Finally, we also installed a centre stand. Look, we know it's not essential, but it does make life easier, especially with ferry crossings and whenever we want to service the bike.
Right, let's get into luggage. So let's kick off with panniers. I know there's a huge debate out there whether you should be using hard panniers or soft luggage. As you can see, we opted for soft luggage. We just thought for the journey we're doing, we wanted to save weight. We knew we'd be off road quite a lot. The reality is we know we're going to drop the bikes quite a lot. And if these fall on your legs, they don't do as much damage. And also they're a lot more flexible with how much you can put in there. These ones are up to 35 litres. As you can see, there's probably about 20-25 in here, so this is packed quite light at the moment. These ones are a canvas bag by the brand Andy Straps, which is an Australian brand. They have a roll top, which makes them pretty much 100% waterproof. I mean, we've ridden through huge storms, through deep puddles, and yeah, we haven't let any water in. We do actually have our items in dry bags as well, or the option of putting them in dry bags inside, but so far we really haven't needed those. So anyway, they're the pannier bags.
Alright, so with up-front storage, it's a little bit difficult on these bikes because with the shape of these tanks, it makes it a little bit limited to what tank bags you can get. You can't get the really big ones. There's only a few certain ones that'll fit to a tank like this. So James has got the Giant Loop Fandango. It's an 8-litre bag. Inside it comes with a little waterproof thing you can zip up and close. It's also got a zip along the sides here that if you undo, you can get to your tank and fill it up. Along with that, we've got these 2 little tank panniers. These are really cheap bags. We got them off eBay for like 10 bucks. And then we basically put some Velcro on there to hold them in place and sewed a strap onto the front that keeps them up so that they're not riding along our knees. It's a pretty good setup for what we need. In these things, we just keep little bits and bobs because they are not waterproof. So in mine, I've got like some you know, water bottles on one side and whatever other crap we want in there. And then in here, obviously, your more valuable stuff like our cameras, etc.
So next up, let's talk about the luggage on the rear. There are many options of what you could do here. There's actually motorbike specific storage systems for the back. We actually went for Pelican cases. So I think these are predominantly used for camera gear storage and things like that, and putting them on aeroplanes. They're 100% waterproof. You can get other brands as well, but we found these cheap second hand, so we've both got the Pelican cases. I'll just open them up for you. This one we've set up and separated into different sections to keep a lot of our important gear, such as the drone. We've got the lenses and a tripod here. Whenever we go away from the bikes for any period of time, if we just want to get lunch or go for a walk, we always put all our important gear in here. This is our main security box. As you can see on this side, we've got a bit of foam. These bikes obviously bouncing around a lot when we're off road, so it's important we want to keep this as secure as possible. One of the things I really like that we did is we put our important documents in the back here. We actually velcroed them in, so we just put velcro here and here, and we can strap them down on the bike and they don't go anywhere. So this is where we keep our passports, our carne, any extra cash, etc. back there. Not that anyone would get into the boxes, but chances are if they did, they wouldn't necessarily think to look back here. For security, there are options that you can take these off, and we looked at many different ways of doing it, but we decided if we could just find a way to fix this to the bike permanently, it'd be fine for what we needed. So it is possible to take this off, but in order to do so, it would take at least half an hour, and that's knowing what you need to do. You need to take off the panniers, the side covers, the pannier racks, just to get to it. So yeah, they're pretty much locked on there. And what we have bought is we just got 4 of these little locks, just basic from any hardware store. And we've all got the same key. So if I lose my key, we can use Jay's key to get into my one, and that's perfectly fine. As you can see on this one, we've also attached a security lock line, I guess. So we use this when we want to walk away and just lock our helmets to the bike. It's worked perfectly, we've had no issues.
As far as electricity on these bikes, you know, they're not great. The stator on these Suzuki DR650s is pretty average at best. I think it's got an output of about 200 watts. Now, if you take into consideration the standard headlight, I think is like 50, so that's a quarter just from the standard headlight. So we've changed a few things to help with that. We've got LED headlights, LED tail light, LED blinkers all around. That significantly reduces the draw on the stator. Some people do upgrade their stator. You can pay quite a lot of money and get one that outputs 250. We didn't really bother with that. We just did a few little things to help out. All our power, so we've put little USB docks in the front, which we'll talk about in a second. We've got one in the back here, which we'll talk about. And all of that goes through to a little DIY fuse box we've made that sits underneath the seat. Just goes into each fuse, and that's run through a relay so that nothing's powered unless the key switch is on. The only thing different to that is we have one little auxiliary plug that just sits down here, and that's for us to plug in the pump to pump our tires up. But let's get into the dock. Up front we've put this little box. It's from J-Car. It's just a cheap little, you know, it's made for cars, I'm pretty sure, but we amended it slightly. So we've got these 2 USB ports. You know, charge your phone, and we can throw one into the tank bag to charge anything else, as well as this little voltmeter that helps us keep an eye on the battery. We've added switches to all of this stuff. So this top switch here turns these 2 USB ports as well as the voltmeter off, not that that really counts for much. And this bottom switch is for a lead that goes into our Pelican case in the back, so we can be charging anything in the box at the back as well. So that turns that on and off. As well as that, we know it's not safe to do this, but our headlights in the front, we've got a little switch here that turns that headlight on and off. We basically have that so that if we want to be charging something on the bike, you know, while we're just parked, you can turn the key on and just flick the light off. That way, at least that light's not draining the battery, and it's only the little, you know, 5-volt USB plug. We've also put a little LED light just there, so that when that headlight is off, the LED light's on, showing us that we don't have that. That way, when we're riding the bike, at least we know if that light's on or off.
Next up, I thought I'd talk you through the fender bags. So we both have one on our bikes. I've got one by the brand Wolfman. They're not waterproof, but what we keep in them, I keep a medical kit. I think it's important we have a medical kit easy to get to, and that we both know exactly where it is. So that's just in a plastic bag and lives in here, and yeah, whenever we need it, we know exactly where to go. In Jay's one, we're currently keeping a spare tube for the front tyre, and also a lock. So the lock we're using is just a simple cable lock. We can stretch it around both bikes quite easily, and if there's a lamppost or anything nearby, it'll go around there as well. Actually, while we're on that topic, I will talk to you a little bit about security and what we do for our bikes. Obviously, having the soft panniers we touched on before, there's no security on those. If people want to get into them, they can very easily. And one of the options we found was you could get these steel core straps. So inside the strap itself, there is a line of steel, so it'll be very, very hard to cut through. And they're actually dual purpose, which is perfect, because with the bags, they do fit quite well onto the panniers anyway, or the pannier racks. But with these as well, it just really cinches it down properly and they're not going anywhere. The way we fitted these is we actually put them in a cross. So they wrap round and we cross them over there. And there's actually a lock on there which you can just undo and get to quite easy and cinch it down. We know it's not 100% foolproof, but the reality is if someone wanted to get into this bag and it's done up tightly, you know, it'd be really, really hard to try unravel all this and actually get in there. So we're really happy with them. We've had no issues so far, so yeah, it's perfect for us. But what we found is our favourite thing, and it's obviously one of the more simple things, is actually just a cover. We did toy with the idea of making our own cover, just buying some ripstop material and sewing it, but we realised neither of us knew anything about sewing and it was probably more effort than it's worth. Luckily, when we were partway through the trip, we actually stopped in a shop in the outback and we saw these covers. So I don't know if you've used many bike covers before. I've definitely had some, and they're often very bulky, which is what we were quite worried about. But these ones fit absolutely perfectly. And as you can see where we keep them, just at the back here, you know, if we want to stretch our legs, you can just move back a little bit and it's still comfy and they're great. We just use these wherever we're in big cities, leaving them in hotels. I think it's one of those things, if people can't see it, they don't necessarily draw attention. So it's kind of like a bit of an invisibility cloak. If we don't have them on, we often find people coming over and they might be touching things or sitting on the bikes. But with the covers, people just ignore them. So yeah, definitely would swear by those. And so far, I think it's one of the best purchases we've made.
So basically that's it. These are our bikes. Obviously, you know, the choice of bike is completely up to you. Yeah. We did research. We love these bikes. We swear by them. They've gone through a lot already. Mud, rain. The only thing we haven't gone through is snow so far. But we will.
We will. So we've done 10,000 so far, 3 countries through pretty extreme conditions. And yeah, they're great. We love them.
If you have any questions on the DR or any of our luggage or anything, even the electrical stuff, yeah, hit us up. We'll do our best to help you out. All right.